It's the same thing that's been happening with this story for the last 5 years. There's so much stuff out there one way or the other, but there's that nagging doubt in the back of your mind that this might be exactly what they're saying it is. I'd say half the people recognize what it is, that it's, to them it's a story, it's some creative person online, but they still find it entertaining. I would say about 25% of the people believe it, and they're out buying canned food and guns. It's a very bizarre feeling to think that you actually knew about something because a time traveler told you about it.
I heard one theory where you had to, in order to build a time machine, you needed to start with an object with the mass of Jupiter and then stretch it out so it was infinitely long and then rotate it at the speed of light.
I don't think anybody has any idea, or really a good idea of how to look into the future right now, except for the little bits and pieces that we see from science.
I'm a professor of theoretical physics, and as a consequence, we have to use Einstein's equations to describe the universe. However, Einstein himself realized that when he proposed general relativity, that there was the possibility that perhaps you could go backwards in time. Now, I as a physicist have to confront the same question that Einstein asked. We do believe that Einstein's equations give us the best description of space and time. However, there's a loophole here. It seems as if, in Einstein's equations, time travel is possible.
What is my long-term goal for my time machine? Well, the process of building it has really been the important issue for me. I guess my interest in time travel goes back to the first time I saw the film The Time Machine back in 1960. My father was an usher at a movie theater, a local movie theater in our town, and he took me to see The Time Machine with Rod Taylor, and it was the first time I had an introduction to the concept of traveling in time.
My name is Oliver Williams, and I run a website called JohnTitor.com. John Titor is the name of a person who went on the internet for 5 months in 2001 claiming to be a time traveler from the year 2036. He spoke about why he was here, who he was, how his time machine worked, and then abruptly stopped posting and claimed to return to where he came from in 2036.
My name's Larry Haber. I'm an entertainment attorney here in Orlando, Florida. And I'm self-employed. I have my own law practice here in Orlando, and I also work for a company here downtown Orlando called Acme Strategy Corporation. I've been a lawyer for about 23 years now, and I've worked in the past at Universal Studios and at Disney. And so I have a background both in the theme park and entertainment side of things, and also a background in corporate and securities law. Well, I wasn't aware of John Titor before I was hired by a friend of mine who I went to law school with. I graduated law school in 1982 at Hofstra University in New York, and just a couple of years ago got a call, hadn't heard from him in a long time, and said, "I've got something interesting for you to look at." So I said, "Sure, what is it?" He basically said that he represented the family of a time traveler, and he said he couldn't disclose who they were, couldn't tell me anything more about it, but if I was interested, they wanted to get the story out and wanted to do some things with the book and merchandising, etc. And I said, basically, I said, this has got to be crazy. There's nothing to this, and so on. He convinced me to take it on, and so for the last couple of years, that's what I've been doing. I basically work through him, and I've never met anybody from the family. They send me stuff every once in a while through him. I was told when I was hired not to disclose anything or any information, I guess. I can't tell you who it was that hired me, but basically I'm the conduit.
Time travel to the future is actually commonplace. Every time we go into a rocket ship, there is something called time dilation. In other words, time actually slows down. Believe it or not, the faster you move, the slower time beats. We've actually measured this with atomic clocks. Our astronauts, when they go into outer space and when they come back, are slightly younger than they would have been if they simply stayed on the Earth. Now, if you could go near the speed of light, you would in fact be suspended in animation. You would actually be frozen in time, so that when you stopped your journey, you would actually be perhaps hundreds of years into the future.
When I got interested in building replicas of the time machine from the 1960 movie, it was 1999, and I had decided to build a scale model. It took me probably close to 3 months to complete this scale model, and just as I was finishing it, I got connected to the internet, and I go on and I type in time machine, and much to my shock and surprise, I get this site that's about these enthusiasts, all about my age, at about 50 years old, who have somehow reconnected with this memory of this science fiction film from 1960 and had some emotional connection to it, and were compelled to make these scale models. And there were blueprints from MGM, from the original prop that was made back in 1960 for all to see on the internet now. And my jaw dropped when I realized that I had become a member of a club that I didn't even know I belonged to, and connected with all these other people who were enthusiastic about the same thing. And that led to my decision to construct a full-scale version of the prop. I'm going to show you some various components of the machine. This is the dish that goes on the back of the machine, that big dish that spins as you're traveling through time. It's made out of a sheet of aluminum, 1/8 inch thick. I would have spun it myself, but there was no way I could tool up for it. But I was very lucky to find a metal spinning company in Vancouver, Canada, that had a tool, a wooden shape, that they were able to spin this, and it's very close to the original, so it worked out great for me. And then recently I've been working on the control lever for the machine, which is a crystal lever. I've turned this out of copper on a lathe, and there are some various other little metal components that will go to it, and eventually the crystal will sit like this in the lever. This piece, which is right now a prototype made of plastic, will eventually be made out of green marble, which I'll be spinning on a lathe as well. This is the console, which gives you the date and time and the control of your traveling. And what I've done is I've made 200 rivets out of brass, which will make it look very Victorian in construction once these brass rivets are applied to the machine in various places. For the speedometer, if you want to call it that, the odometer, that's going on the timeometer that's going onto the console. I made a foam cutting machine, which is a very hot wire that cuts this insulating foam, and I was able to use this brass plate, which I cut out of 11 gauge brass on a scroll saw. I put it onto the foam, cut it on the hot wire. Do I believe time travel is possible? Well, from what I know about it, it's if it is possible, it's probably very impractical. It would be great to get it to work, of course. I mean, not just be an object to look at, but something you could take a ride in. Part of my goal in building this machine is just expanding my knowledge of craftsmanship and working with materials I haven't worked with before. But I also think of my machine as possibly being an heirloom, something that I could burden generations to come with. You know, they'd be wondering, what are we going to do with this thing? Why did great-grandpa make this thing? And can we sell it? What, you know, so I guess it serves generally, basically two purposes for me. The process of building and burdening generations to come.
If somebody announces that they have built a time machine in their basement, all I can do is laugh, because that violates the known laws of physics. However, if one day somebody knocks on your door and claims to be your great-great-great-great-granddaughter, a few thousand times removed, well, don't slam the door, because it is conceivable that perhaps our civilization, our puny type 0 civilization, which uses oil and coal as our supply of energy, may one day possess galactic power as a type 3 civilization. And when you become type 3, then there is the possibility, just the possibility, that perhaps you can open gateways through space and time and then meet your illustrious ancestor way back in the 21st century. Now, my colleague Stephen Hawking, the great cosmologist, has stated in the past that he doesn't believe in time travel because where are the tourists from the future? We don't see them taking pictures of us. However, my attitude is the following. If you're walking down a country road and you see an anthill, do you go down to the ants and say, I bring you trinkets, I bring you beads, I bring you nuclear energy, I give you the secrets of time travel? Or do you simply step on a few of them? Well, the distance between us and ants is similar to the distance between us and a type 3 civilization. So we are so arrogant and conceited that we believe that we're worth visiting from the future or from civilizations in outer space. What makes us so interesting that a civilization that advanced, that can go between stars and galaxies, would be interested in a puny type 0 civilization like us?
I think there are three main reasons now why John Titor's story has continued to have such a large following, even for the last 5 years now. The first one is that the posts John left behind cause a great deal of controversy between the people who read them. Nobody can seem to agree on exactly what he was saying or trying to say. The second thing is that there's no definitive proof that he wasn't exactly what he said he was. There's lots of things that can be checked out that people have tried to check out, but nothing has come forward to say that John was not a time traveler. And the third thing is that the people who are just now discovering the story are watching the things that he talked about unfold after they read it, and that's freaking a lot of people out.
For the most part, when I got hired, I didn't take much credence in what was happening. I figured I'd get paid as I do for a lot of clients. And then my son, who's 19 years old, his name is Brandon, is now a student at the University of Central Florida, started going through the sites and so on, and said, Dad, you won't believe what's going on out there. He's told me that people have investigated where I live, where I work. Apparently people have taken pictures of the office I used to occupy, which has kind of annoyed the people that I used to work with over there. I had a call a few months ago from a guy at Hustler magazine who said, would you like to be interviewed? And the first time around I hung up because I just thought it was a friend of mine playing a joke, and it turned out to be somebody really at Hustler magazine that wanted to do an interview of me. And one of the proudest moments of my life will probably be that I'm now mentioned in Hustler April 2005 edition. And I'm also referred to as a pricey entertainment lawyer, and it doesn't get any better than that.
I estimate at least 2, maybe 3 more years before the project is completed. Will it end in divorce? Will it tear my family apart? I don't think so. My family's been very kind in indulging me in my crazy obsession with building my time machine. I think we're at a point now where my 2 daughters, who are 7 and 4, probably think that all dads are building a time machine.
Some of the downside of this, though, has been that I've gotten lots of crank emails and phone calls. The postings on the web have found where I live, who my family members are, not only my immediate family, but in-laws and my family and so on. And so I do get a little concerned about whether or not there might be somebody that might come out and do something crazy.
I get at least 6 or 7 death threats a week, and they're all in huge capital letters. People that want to come to my house, beat me up, find me, how dare I spread this. Oh yeah, we get about 6 or 7 of those a week.
If you can really bend time into a pretzel, it means you can meet your parents before you're born and perhaps kill them. Now, if you kill your parents before you're born, how can you be born to kill your parents before you're born? Or, for that matter, let's say that you're a female who has a sex change operation and become a male. Then you go backwards in time and meet yourself as a female, and then you fall in love with yourself and have children. And these children become you. In that case, you have become your own mother, your own father, your own son, your own daughter, your own great-grandfather, your own great-granddaughter. You are a family tree unto yourself.
In John's posts online, he talked about many things that people have considered to be predictions. And keep in mind that this was back before 9/11, before the shuttle accident, before the war on terror. This is back in the year 2000 when he said all these things. One that keeps popping up a lot is the fact that he said there would be no weapons of mass destruction discovered in Iraq after a second war in the Gulf. He also said that China would be the next nation to put a man in orbit. He said that mad cow disease would show up in the United States and would become a major problem in the future. And John also told us about how his time machine worked and the power source for his time machine, how it was going to be researched and discovered at CERN, which is a physics laboratory in Switzerland. And apparently, about 5 months after he left, CERN did indeed announce that they were working on the very power source John spoke about.
300 years ago, Isaac Newton said that time is like an arrow. You fire an arrow, it beats uniformly, never deviates from its past. 1 second on the Earth is 1 second on Mars, is 1 second throughout the universe. Now comes Einstein, who says, not so fast. Time is not really like an arrow at all. Time is like a river which speeds up, slows down, meanders around stars, and this we can measure with our instruments. Now, the new wrinkle in all this, which is causing a lot of excitement among physicists, is that the river of time could have whirlpools. Whirlpools by which perhaps you can go backwards in time. Or perhaps the river of time can fork into 2 rivers. So in other words, we exist in this river of time. We measure time as we beat along this river with our clocks. And if it goes into a whirlpool, or if it splits into 2 rivers, then perhaps we have the possibility of moving backwards in time.
I've been asked a lot whether I believe in time travel, because obviously whether I believe in it or not might indicate whether or not I think any of this stuff is real. So I got this, and it says, "To whom it may concern, thank you for taking an interest in my son and what he left behind. Enclosed you will find a copy of the single best piece of evidence I have concerning how John had an impact on our time now. This letter was written to my husband's father by a colleague after he met John in 1975 and retired from IBM. Thank you again, John's mother." And this is a letter, and that's her letter, handwritten, and this is a typed letter, which I'll leave you. Lots of stuff's been blanked out, but it just says, "Dear blank, congratulations on your induction into the IBM Quarter Century Club."
The reason John said that he was traveling in time was because he went back to in 1975 to get a portable computer that was manufactured by IBM called the 5100.
Was it really blank years ago when we met on the blank project and wound up together on the 5100 in Building 30? Remember the meetings with the APL inventors both in Minnesota and California, trying to get our unique requirements approved, which we always did.
I don't know if you've seen it or not, but the latest theory they have about John now is that he fixed Y2K for us, and that's why things are different.
You should certainly take credit for solving those little calendar problems no one else caught. I wish you the best of luck in the future, sincerely. And this means absolutely nothing to me.
I know personally with my replica of the time machine that I'm building, I have a theory. I'm hoping that what I can do is on the big dish that sits on the back, there's these little kind of bumps, these discs all around the outer edge. And I'm thinking that if I could charge those magnetically with a very strong magnetic charge, as the dish rotated past the back motor area, it would pass by another object that was also highly magnetically charged. And as it rotated, it would cause the machine to move just maybe a molecule or two one way and then the other way. So it would be shifting the machine back and forth. And if I could get that to happen fast enough, the machine would be in effect moving at or near the speed of light, but appearing to stand in the same place. And then you would begin to travel.
Einstein said that there must be an equation 1 inch long, no more than 1 inch long, which would allow us to understand the secrets of the entire universe, including reading God's thoughts. Now, Einstein himself failed. As a consequence, we cannot resolve within Einstein's equations whether or not time travel is really possible or not.
I have a 19-year-old son that spends more time keeping me up to date on what's going on with this than I ever will. One of the things that was written up in the Hustler interview was the fact that maybe he is the John Titor himself perpetrating the hoax. As far as I know, no. I wouldn't put it past my son to do anything, but I don't think so. I think that it's just a coincidence at this point that some of the things that he's done coincide with some of the postings that have been out there. Whether this stuff is real or not, I don't, for me, this is just fun to play with at the moment. I'm having a good time going through it.
I'm often asked if I believe in all this, if I believe in time travel, and I have to say that 5 years ago, I would say no. I would say time travel is impossible. But now, after John has been here and left, it's come to my attention that there is real science now behind time travel.
We have to use the laws of physics as we know them to then begin to extrapolate into the possibilities of time travel. But again, the energy requirements are too severe. Plutonium, an atomic bomb, simply does not have the energy necessary to open up gateways through space and time.
I think that probably all people have had some time in their life where they've done something that they would go back and want to correct. So yeah, I think that there are times in my life that if I had a time machine, I'd probably go back and try to mend whatever damage I thought I might have done.